My name is Leah Granger, and you're watching Curtain Call, presented by FabCollab. It's an initiative where our co-hosts, myself and Tamar Ilana, speak with powerful women in the arts from Toronto, from Canada, and around the world. And this month we've been focusing on some different legends in the Toronto arts community. There's too many to cover in 1 month, but we've had a few on, and we're going to have a few more before the end of May. Our guest next week is going to be Maria Litwin, who's an incredible visual and conceptual artist, and also the owner of La Palette Restaurant, which has been a pillar of the Toronto arts community for a really long time. So we'll be having her next week. But this week, actually, and I'll also tell you before we start with today's interview about a event that we have coming up on June 4th. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Esmeralda, Carmen. We've got a lot of flamencos online today. Is Indigenous Grooves. It's an all Indigenous arts event curated by 3 Indigenous women, and it's an electronic music event, and it will be at Lee's Palace on Friday, June 4th, featuring an all women and non-binary lineup and fashion show. They're collaborating with Indigenous Fashion Week. There's going to be DJs. There's going to be live music performances. There's going to be arts and crafts fair. So that's June 4th at Lee's Palace. But coming up this week, and I'm just waiting for her to join here, we have a very special guest, someone who's been incredibly active in the Toronto arts community, going as far back as the 80s. I'm just going to message her here because she's... 1 second. I'm just going to get our guest online. Okay, let's see if she's coming. Sometimes there can be a few little technical difficulties, little hiccups, as we've entered this very digital age. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about this fabulous woman. She's a stand-up comedian. She's a singer. She is an author. She's a columnist. She's been a trailblazer in the queer community in Toronto as far back as the 80s. She was Canada's first trans woman stand-up comic. She's performed at Yuck Yups, Absolute Comedy Bar, Corner Comedy Club. She is a columnist for Buzz Magazine and Pink Play Magazine. She's been a public speaker. And she's a venue. She's one of the huge roles that she's had in Toronto is as a venue owner and as an arts curator, giving a lot of different people space to perform. And I see that she's here now. I'm gonna see if I can invite her to join. Let's see here. Mandy. Here we go. I'm inviting you now. And if you accept that, you should be popping up here in just a moment. So let me introduce her. Mandy Goodhandy. We did it.
Hello. We managed to do it, didn't we? Let me just adjust that a bit. Okay.
That is wonderful.
There. Okay. Isn't this exciting? It's exciting.
It's very exciting. And I feel like we're both, I just dyed my hair yesterday, extremely blonde. I'm just getting used to it. And I feel like we're on the same wavelength here.
Kind of. Yeah. I'm more of an ash.
You're a little ashier, it's true.
Yeah, it's like I'm over 25, so I figured, okay, I'll go a little more.
You wouldn't know.
Well, who cares anyway, right? Who cares?
Totally. Well, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. This is wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy we're able to connect.
This is so weird for me.
I mean, it is weird, I think, in general. But also, we started it during the pandemic, and we've kind of just wanted to continue it because I think just me and Tamar love the opportunity to meet all these different women and hear about their lives. And also, I think it's just nice to give people a chance, performers, uh, the chance to actually like talk about their work, because that just doesn't happen that often, you know? It's like you're so busy like doing and organizing, and that like to just chat is nice.
Yeah, it is. Well, actually, myself, I stop people in the street and tell them all about my career. So I don't really care. It's like, excuse me, do you realize who I think I am? Let's talk about my career.
Well, let's talk a little bit about who you think you are, or who you are.
I don't know.
No, we'll find out. We'll find out. So
Yeah,
I gave a little spiel about just from your biography, but I mean, you've just done so many things. It's hard to know where to start, but maybe you could start by telling me a little bit about like where you became an artist, like as a young person, if this was something that was always in you to give, like how did this grow in you?
yeah. From the very beginning, I don't know if I want to call it showing off as much as seeking attention. And that's probably how it started, when I was a child, because I was so different from so many other kids. I didn't understand. I'm not going to say what was wrong with me, because I never thought anything was wrong with me, but I always knew something was different about me. And I kind of tried to keep that positive all the time. And so, because of that attention seeking, I always ended up, I don't know why I was this brave. I really don't. When I was a kid and I knew people would make fun of me, but any chance I got, to get in front of the class and sing or dance or if there's little shows being put together. This was over in Glasgow, Scotland. So it was like years ago. This was like in the late 50s. So you can imagine the type of mentality that was going on, not just with people that as far back as that, but people in Glasgow, Scotland, in places that were still considered small, with so many people who were so different, trying to pretend that they weren't, and doing whatever they could to hide their differences, which is, thank goodness at this point, the way things are going, young people can be a little more open. I still fear for them, of course, because we always have to protect. But they're becoming more and more aware that they're not the only one. So I always felt I was the only one that was strange. And it's like I didn't understand why I was born with, like a male. And I thought, I don't understand this. I'm very confused about it. And see, I had something to compare it to when I had an older sister. So it was like I should be her. I should be like her. It was all very odd. So that all built up to me being able to find other characters. It was kind of like, okay, when I come forth with my singing or my dancing, people kind of go, oh, isn't she good? It's like, isn't she? And I'm getting this love and attention. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't, the family was great. It was not the family.
Yeah.
They were not judging, and they were not being mean to me. It was always outside of the home. So I was lucky not to have it in both, like not to
Wow.
be, condemned and picked on out of the home, like in the home and out of the home. So, and I would do as much as I could. My mother would, both my parents were like laborers. My father worked in a factory, and my mom would do odd jobs, and one of them was cleaning a church. And this is in my book, about the story of how I ended up on stage for the first time in front of a crowd. And so she was cleaning churches, this particular church anyway. And for some reason, I don't even remember it, for some reason, the minister from the church went up to her and said, are you going to come and watch your child? She's part of the choir. And my mom was going, I don't understand. And so I had walked into a rehearsal, and all these adults were there, and they were all singing, and I was attracted to it right away. And they kind of encouraged me. And so what happened was I ended up on stage. My family came to see it, wondering, what is this? And, it seems that the curtains opened, and here I am sitting on this chair with all these adults, or, all singing and everything. And some of them were seated, some of them were standing. and my little legs are kind of waving back and forth. I couldn't even reach, to the ground. And the whole audience went, like, they just went wild. It was like, clapping and laughing. But at the time, I don't remember that being towards me. I just thought
Right.
I was fitting in with everybody else. And I'm singing away, and I don't even think I knew half the words. I really don't know. My mouth was moving. I'm looking around, and everybody else is. So it just seems that I had stolen the show, for some weird reason. But I knew when I was up there that this is what I wanted, the lights and the crowd. And I felt so comfortable and so at home. And I thought, this is what I want. I want this. And so it was all within me from a very young age. And this is before I even started grade 1.
Wow.
I know, it was like I was that young. And so it was odd and exciting all at once. And then I realized that when I'm performing, I get that love from the outside of my family. Like I said, I already had the love with my family, but the people outside who, so a lot of times I was being picked on and verbally abused because I was so different. But whenever I was safe on that stage, and that's what it felt like to me, was the safety. It was a
Wow,
safety
that's
net.
so interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're so like for a lot of people, I imagine they feel like you're so exposed when you're on stage and you're so vulnerable. But for you, it's like no, that's where like people are responding like really positively to like who you really are.
Yes, yes, you're able to. When you get your art out, it's true for any artist, whether they're painting or whatever it is they're doing.
Hmm.
That seems to be their safety. And it's odd because people always think that entertainers, especially, we're all very outgoing.
Hmm.
And most of us, it's the opposite. We're not outgoing. We're very, kind of shy. And it's that entertainer part of us that is outgoing and fun
Right.
and entertaining. And when I walk into a gathering where there's just people, whether it's a party or a club or anything, I am totally anxious and nervous. And of course, it doesn't show because I've learned how
Yeah,
to,
I was gonna say.
yeah, there's a lot of that. It's like, yeah, a lot. And I've mentioned that in my book too. It's almost like you end up coming up with some sort of a character of yourself because you're constantly learning how can I present myself in situations where I
Hmm.
can come off feeling safe and not make other people feel uncomfortable. And that's the thing, because if you're all nervous and it makes them uncomfortable, and that's the last thing I want to do. Just because I'm struggling with something doesn't mean I want other people, to struggle with the same thing.
Yeah, like putting people at ease, putting the audience at ease.
Yes.
It's yeah, it's like you have to be kind of be at ease.
Yeah. Oh, you have to be. And even off stages, what I meant was when you're wandering
Hmm.
around talking to people before you perform or after you perform, it's that's the hardest part.
Well, tell me, like, how did you end up here?
Um,
Born in Scotland, but now like an
oh,
icon in the Toronto community.
yeah, I was so different that they threw me out of the country. No, I moved here with my family
Okay.
in 1965. We moved over to Canada. Um, Things were not going well in Glasgow. There was a lot of struggling, and one of my uncles had moved here prior to this and suggested and encouraged my mom to move over to Canada and say there's more opportunity um, for you over here and you should really, move. So this is what we ended up in 1965. We ended up, going on a big ship on the way over, and it was fascinating. And so this is how I ended up here. I'm sorry. I'm going
Mm.
too long about, just
So
to answer
interesting.
your question,
Yeah, but it's so interesting. You came on a boat?
Yes, it was an ocean liner,
Like
it's
nobody does it anymore.
no.
Like,
No,
nobody. I don't even know if you could.
no. Everybody is wanting to get where they want to go. They want to get they want to do it quickly,
Yeah.
and in a lot of circumstances that's the way it has to be, because it could be business or they're just in a hurry to get there. The timeline is I don't have a week, or I don't know
Right.
how long it is even now to go across, but it was a week then. And But, I would suggest to anybody who has that time, it's beautiful and wonderful. And that was even back then. So I can't even imagine how incredible it is now on a ship. There's so
Yeah.
many things to do. It was wonderful.
Wow. And so then when you arrived here, like, what was it like back then? Like, was it super challenging to like get used to to being in a new culture, or were you sort of like more at home here? Like, what was that transition like for you?
It was horrendous
Mm.
at first. And I can't speak for everybody in the world, obviously, or every child in the world, but you have the Scottish accent. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing that other kids will pick on. Um, they don't understand what you're saying half the time because a Scottish brogue is really strong. And so they would say things to me like, oh, speak Scottish, speak so. And well, I am like, it's not a language, it's an
Yeah.
accent. And so, of course, the first thing I was trying to do was get rid of the accent. And so here I am changing for all these other people around me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that becomes uncomfortable for any young person. It's like to have to try, or not have to, but to want to change, um, to please other people. And you
Yeah.
you don't learn until later on that you don't have to do that. But unfortunately, at the time you think you have to because you want to feel safe. And so that was one of the things I was afraid of, that they were gonna pick on me and or beat me up because I spoke with an accent. And it was interesting at first, of course, they were fascinated by it, but then after a while, then they started realizing how different I was. And it wasn't just the accent, it was
Mm-hmm.
like they dug, and I thought I could change my whole thing. Like I could, being picked on by the kids in Scotland, calling me names and nicknames. I thought, oh, I'm going to leave all that behind me. And now
Mm-hmm.
I can start fresh. And so I was trying even harder to try and fit into a situation where now at this point, it wasn't just the accent, it was the whole culture. And I know that might sound odd that the British culture, some of it could be different than the Canadian. And so you're adapting. It's a whole new country, so a whole new outlook, and everything's totally different. So it wasn't easy um, for me to adjust to that. But it's also not poor me either. It was like it was great for the family. It
Mm-hmm.
was a good move for them. My parents, they still ended up working factories, but it was better factories, with better, with better salaries, and so
Did you
yeah.
find like, and when did you find like a creative community or like a queer community or like where you were able to sort of like more be yourself?
Uh, well, there was no queer community. I
Yeah.
was we moved to Streetsville, which is now eaten up by Mississauga. So, but
Mm-hmm.
Streetsville, which is a very tiny town at the time, um, there wasn't really a lot of stuff to do or anything like that. But I started when I went to school, when I was in school, I started doing plays. Whenever they were doing anything, I was right there. It was like I didn't care what it was.
Yeah.
And so I had to get on that stage. And so I thought, oh, they're going to love me. They're going to love me because I'm on stage and I'm a dancer. And because I was more focused on dancing than singing, than I always was. It was a natural thing that I had was, I don't know what happened, but I was always a dancer. And it just was natural. It came natural to me. And so I thought, oh, they're all going to love me because they'll see me dance. Not realizing that that's going to be getting worse because boys are allowed to dance back
Right.
then.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I just can't win here. It's like, okay, I go up there and I do this dance routine and then I'm getting laughed at. And the girls liked it. I was always comfortable with women, always from the very, very beginning. And that was my friends, was always
Right.
girls, and so they all loved the fact that I can dance. And it wasn't because there wasn't any other boys that could dance. It's just that other boys wouldn't dance,
Right.
and that was a difference. And of course, that has changed as well because, when I
Mm-hmm.
was in Streets, well, I wanted to take dance lessons. And I said to my mom, I want to go and take dance lessons. And so here are the yellow pages, you know, with dance instructors and everything. Every one
Yeah.
of them turned me down. And they said,
Really?
we don't take boys. We don't, you know, this was in Mississauga at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. But the thing is like men, I mean, there were always men in ballet and stuff like that. But I guess it's like in Canada, there wasn't
Yeah.
like, yeah,
They were,
crazy.
oh yeah, the interest was always there and everybody wanted to do it. I wish that I had been accepted to take especially the ballet lessons. And
That's so,
it's not because
yeah,
I want to be a ballet dancer. It was
of
because
course,
I
yeah,
was a dancer and I wanted that
yeah,
technical side of it.
of
And
course.
so when these teachers were kind of going, oh no, I don't teach. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's like, I don't understand. It's like, I
Hmm.
don't understand this. I really couldn't understand it. Um, but I tried. I did my best in whatever chance I got to go on stage. So to answer your question, it really didn't start blooming until after high school was over. And I went to college, business college at Sheridan.
Okay.
And I I saw a poster for a musical that we're putting together at Sheridan, Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. And I looked at that and I went, I want to do this. And I went to audition for it. And I got the part of Linus, and
Amazing.
yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I thought, okay, if you want me to be a boy, if I must, then okay, all right, because I am an actress. So anyway, I did the musical, and then the following year they did Over the Lovely War, and I auditioned for that too. And then that same year is when they approached a lot of us and said, we are starting up a music theater program at
Wow.
Sheridan College, and that's when it started. So right from the beginning of when this course had started. And so I was in the second year that it had started. I auditioned for music
Wow.
theater. And that's how I ended up doing theater and doing performance as a professional or heading towards being a professional. So that's how all that happened. When it came to community, queer community, like you brought up,
Mhm.
LGBT, what, like I said, there was none, and there still wasn't any.
Yeah.
There wasn't any that I was aware of, that I was even brave enough to get involved with. I didn't really have any experiences with anything like that until college. Um, and even then, I didn't make it public how I felt sexually until
Yeah.
after college was over. That's how afraid people were, even back then, even in college, you were afraid. It was just
Yeah.
something that just wasn't acceptable. It was also situations that was underground. A lot of it was still underground back then, where you would go to a bar and you would still feel unsafe if you were in a gay bar.
Was this
But
like the 80s or the 70s, the 80s?
yeah, at that point, it was like 1972.
Yeah.
And so it was still, the feeling was still like that in gay bars. It's not because they would come in and bust the bar, like
Yeah.
the police wouldn't come in and arrest people, but it was the police sitting there knowing that you just came from that place. And then the
Right.
harassment that came along with that. And there was a lot of that going on um, with the police and legalities. And the other thing was a steam bath. There's an example there with steam bath. So they made gay people, um, go into situations that were dangerous, uh, an awful lot. Otherwise, they wouldn't
Mhm.
be able to meet someone or feel comfortable being their true selves when I'm
Mhm.
talking about the gay world right now, not the trans world. That's a whole other story. But so where do you meet people like yourself? Where do
Mhm.
you get this situation from? And so you got the parks, public situations at night, and then you've got the steam baths, which, are still kind of like, it's an interesting community now more than it was. Back then, it was just some dirty little secret.
Right.
And then the gay bars, of course, where you're afraid to go there because you could get outed publicly. People could see
Right.
you going in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was never really a community. Things have changed, of course, and I think, of course, we shouldn't, start fooling ourselves and thinking everything is okay, because it's not. It's not okay. And, I hate to say that, but we have each other, and
Mhm.
and that's okay. And the community is building and building, and so we become stronger, and that's how we're able to be able to survive a little more. But, you know, the honest fact is, you put someone like myself or anybody who's in the queer spectrum into some small town that doesn't understand, and you put yourself back in danger again. And it's unfortunate that it could take generations for that to change, to ever become comfortable and acceptable. I mean, you see what's going on in the United States. It's all going to end up reverting back to the beginning. Yes. And a lot of young people out there don't realize how a lot of people, and I'm not talking about myself, but a lot of young people are people that were in the beginning fighting for their right, fighting for that point that they're at now where they're a little more comfortable, feeling a little more safe. And a lot of them have forgotten about that part of it. And I hope they never do. And this is the important thing about having Pride and everything every year. It's about that. It's about showing people that this is the way it used to be, and don't throw yourself. It could end up there again. And we have to really, really be careful with that. Am I going off track here?
Yeah. Because it's easy, like, it's true. It's like, even like I'm 40, and so like, you know, for most of my adult life, and I've always only lived in big cities. So it's like easy to sort of think, oh, like things are open, and especially in the last decade, you know, like things are better. And yeah, and like forget like the stories that you're telling, that it was like not that long ago that there was literally like no space and you couldn't like be publicly yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And that there were like that was something that was really hard won. And yeah, it's so scary to see what's happening in the States, that like it came back, that it doesn't, not always in a forward momentum.
No. And the thing is, what goes on down there sometimes reflects on what goes on up here. And, you know, because I have, you know, family and friends that say to me sometimes, why are you so intent on knowing what's going on in the States? And I'm trying to explain to them, it's like, we'll be affected more than you know by what is going on down there, because all of a sudden people will feel it's okay. It's okay now to tell people what we really think about this trans thing, or what we think about same-sex marriage, or what we think about gay people. And because other people in positions of power are now speaking what their real truth is, this horrible, horrible, you know, dark truth of how they're feeling. And racism, the same thing. It's like they now feel they can just say that. They can just, you know, talk about race. And I'm thinking, this is really dangerous. And of course, people in Canada, they think, well, no, it's not going to affect us. But yes, it is going to affect you. It is going to affect you.
It's like definitely like their global influence is strong, and we're right next door, like no question.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've been doing your good work here in Toronto, you know, creating space. Like, tell me about how that, like, I know you did a lot of comedy in the 80s.
Yes.
Touring as a trans woman, and were you the only one? Like, what was that like? How did you become a stand-up comedian?
I know that. It's so odd, because back then what I was doing wasn't even considered stand-up comedy. I didn't think it was, and I don't think other people thought it was. But when I first started doing comedy was when I was touring with male strip reviews around Ontario. And I had discovered this drag side of performance. And it wasn't really something that I ever really wanted to do. And it wasn't what I was doing it. I wasn't even comfortable doing it. But it was performance. It was something. And I thought, okay, I'm moving my mouth to someone else's voice. And that was so uncomfortable for me. I think it's beautifully done. Don't get me wrong. I think drag is an incredibly important art form. It's just not for me. It wasn't for me. I didn't like the presentation, how much was involved in it. I liked to be able to go out. When I was doing drag, it was all about the comedy, funny songs, and songs that involved dancing. So that was my strengths. And so when I was traveling with these male strip reviews, even the male stripping thing was still fairly new to all these small towns of screaming women. And it was incredible how women took to this. And The fascinating thing about it is the fact that the way men always took to female strippers was so different to the
So
response.
it's crazy.
It is because
It's
women are
so
doing it. Women are kind of doing it for the fun, and it's like and the
it's
laughing.
hilarious. Everyone's like laughing hysterically the
Yeah,
entire
it is, and men just sit there
great.
all.
It's
And men
even
are
great.
all. When men are watching female strippers, they're all spread out and they don't know each other. You
Yeah,
know,
that's right.
yeah, unless they're doing a stag, or something, and they make fools out of themselves. But with women, it's like they'll go in masses and groups, and somebody's getting married and somebody's having a birthday, and these women are right into it. And it was the best audience ever, was
Yeah.
getting in front of them and doing this drag stuff and making these little jokes and then introducing the strippers and then at the end, what I did at the end was I transformed at the end from the female impersonator into the male persona that I had at the time, and right in front of them, and I was, like lip syncing. It became a show, so that was the finale of the show, and the women just went crazy
Really.
over that, is because of the performance and then the transition right on stage. So that was all my drag kind of career before I even considered, um, you know, living as a trans woman, because I didn't
Mhm.
realize. Um, in a lot of cases, you get young people who they know. It's almost like you look back, um, when you were a little boy, girl, and then you forget about it because you're so busy trying to be somebody else to fit in. So here I am living and presenting as a male for survival almost. And it became a character. So
Mhm.
I learned, and I mentioned this in the book, the struggle about it, is I learned how to act male, how they move, how they talk, how they respond. And I was memorizing it because I wanted to be accepted so badly. And
Mhm.
so I was fighting back that side. The little girl was being fought back. And it wasn't until later on when I started realizing that I'm very comfortable when I'm presenting as a woman. And that's when I started being happy. And even my family noticed that when you're so much more comfortable in your skin, that you were, before. And but with them, I didn't have to pretend to be a character, so I was always me. So nothing really changed in their eyes except
Yeah.
the appearance. But it was like, well, you haven't changed. It's like it's still you. And I'm going, yeah, it's still the way I was in the safety of the family. But when I
Yeah.
was out there, yeah, I
Mhm.
was like a character. So you can imagine what it was like going on stage and presenting as a woman in drag when you felt like you should have always been a woman. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, you're pretending to be a man dressed as a woman. It was just this
So many
mind.
ways.
It was very
Yeah.
weird. It was very, very weird, very strange. But anyway, so that's how I ended up doing the comedy. And a lot of it was exactly that. It was stand-up comedy. It was all bump, and it
Yeah.
was picking on the audience, making fun with the girls, and
Crowd work.
it's like learning how to be a comic. Yeah,
Totally.
so
Which is like an incredible skill and like so difficult. Like I admire it so much. I have like not so secret aspirations. Like I love comedy. I love that kind of performance, but it's like so terrifying. So the fact that you did it at that time in that capacity, like with all these like layers of identity that you were having to force to like work with was amazing.
and throwing myself into these small towns.
Yeah,
It was
also,
it was
also
it was
must have
really
been
weird. It was very, very weird because I'm just glad that in the small towns I had transitioned back, because if the guys all got let in later, so it
right.
was all women,
Yeah,
and the guys could be like really nasty because they were nasty already because of the male strippers. It's like,
yeah.
these small town guys are getting all jealous, it's kind of like,
Mhm.
how they get. And it's like, okay, well, you're here, kind of picking up our women. And, it was like, first of all, they're not your women. And, and second of all, these guys are warming them up for you. Why the hell are you complaining?
You're thanking them.
Yeah, exactly. You should be thanking them. And it's like, it was just weird, that whole mentality, because you know how men can be, right? This is why I never really liked men very much. It was like I was always uncomfortable around them. I understood once I researched why they're thinking, why they thought the way they did, why they react and act the way they do. And it's never them. It's the pack. It's always the pack, always, always, always. I mean, that's why women are able to live with men for years, because they know the real man. They know what he's really like.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's really, it's just crap.
Even like people that are very intensely like dealing with all these ego, like I have to behave in a certain way. It's like it kind of melts away a bit.
It's bad. It's sad. I mean, I spent time in a dressing area with a bunch of heterosexual male strippers, and the things that they would say, and the disrespect, and I'm sitting there trying to pretend that it's not bothering me. And I'm thinking, you're talking about these amazing women who are out just having a good time, and all of a sudden you're looking at them like they're sluts or they're this, that, and the other thing. And I'm thinking, you don't get it. You really don't get women. You don't understand any of this. And, meanwhile, I'm thinking, these are like my sisters. These are like my mother. These are incredible people, and even the worst women in the audiences were better than, the best guys that were backstage. It's sad to see, but it's like I tell people, it's like I've lived in both worlds, because I've been in there. Yeah, it's fascinating. It really is fascinating.
So tell me, like, when did you start having the opportunity to sing yourself, like to do your own work, your own show, like your own material? Like, I know that that happened, but how did that happen for you?
You're talking about the comedy or the singing and music? Yeah.
Singing, I know you have music. Like, yeah, tell me about that, because I know that's a big part of your art.
It was, yeah. It's the singing, getting into the singing, which like I said, I wasn't really a singer, and I was a dancer. And the thing is about the singing, I realized why I wasn't a strong singer. I didn't realize that until later, because I was trying to be a boy singer. And so I was putting on a voice, just like when I was talking, I was putting on a fake voice. And so when I'm trying to sing, I'm trying to do this male opera sound thing that was like I invented. And it wasn't natural, and I'm sure that came across in auditions. And when I auditioned for pieces, they always gave me parts that had a dance part in it, or it was a strong dance part. I could never really break into the singing. I was fine in the chorus, with everybody else. And but then after I started living as a trans woman is when I started being myself, and then figured out I'm just going to sing in my voice, in my natural voice. And when I started singing in my natural voice, it was kind of like, okay, I'm not horrible. I could do this. So that's what happened. It was an open stage night at my own place at 120 Diner when I opened up the place. And that's when
When did you open it?
Oh my God, that was about 2006, I think. 2006 was the upstairs nightclub. And then we opened the downstairs. I think it was 2012, maybe. I'm terrible with dates.
No.
But what happened? Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. I'm sorry, everyone out there. You have to look it up, okay? It's check my website.
I see it right here. I've got it right in front of me.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
It's 2006 and then 2012, which I think is what you said.
All right. Oh, see what happens? Okay. After all, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's when I went up on stage and I started singing, and then I started adapting to what my real voice always was and not realizing. So there was a lot of encouragement I got from other artists. It was incredible. And like I said, I was still doing the comedy, of course, but the singing became so important to me, even more than the comedy is. And now basically when I do music concerts, I can slide some of my, comedy in there, and my knowledge of crowd work, but now I'm kind of reaching out as a singer, and having some fun with the audience and telling them.
Why did you start? Like, how did you start those venues? What brought that on? Is this something that you always wanted to do, or like, yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to open a venue, and it just seems like an impossible thing.
Well, always being an entrepreneur, and wanting to live my life and enjoy what I do. I can't do something if I'm not enjoying it. I can't. I tried it. It's just not comfortable for me. And I guess a lot of that is probably because I wasn't myself. And so I felt safe when I did my own thing all the time. I felt, so that was all part of it, which is interesting how it all ties in.
Yeah.
But I started doing, when I was in sex work, I started putting together these parties because there was nothing out there. The internet wasn't even around until, I discovered the internet, that it was happening, and sex work was actually just, the main thing that was going on the internet was porn. I mean, let's face it, that's what the internet was. It was porn or little businesses that, were trying to get attention, but it had nothing to do with anything else. It really didn't. And so I discovered this because of a client that came to see me and said, "Have you heard of the internet?" And I didn't.
Wow.
And then he helped me. He got me, I leased a computer. He showed me some of the things on it. I got a hold of a hosting company. I learned more as I went along. And I started building a website. And then I learned just how popular trans women were out there as sexual objects at the time. There wasn't a lot of resources yet for people to go online and learn what that world was about. But the porn was out there. And so basically I started advertising my escort ad on the internet, not realizing what that would do. And it was incredible. The response was, I was shocked.
Really?
I was absolutely, all this email coming in going, "I want to meet you. I want to fly you here. I want to do this." Of course, half of it was bullshit. I understood that already. But I said, "Well, you have to be in Toronto for me to meet you. So I'm sorry, I'm not flying to Istanbul, okay, to go and see you." But so anyway, it was that. And then I started building a business. Then I started reaching out to the other ladies that were advertising in the paper and telling them about this. They didn't believe me. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I was trying to explain to them, "No, I'm telling you, run an ad."
You're really a doctor. You're really a doctor of the internet.
Well,
You're trailblazing online.
yeah, it was interesting how it happened. I fell into it like everything else that seems to happen. And then I thought, okay, if you don't want to be involved, that's fine. So and I was offering them an ad on the internet in exchange. What would me putting together an ad for them on the internet in exchange for them providing me with photos that I could put on my pay site, because I built a pay site when it was just me on it. And so that was the deal. And I said, "Listen, you do this." And, of course they were not comfortable. And so I found this guy who was a photographer and who was a model, online cam model in Toronto. And we ended up really getting along. And he was the one I sent to the girls to take their pictures because they were uncomfortable, understandably, with another trans woman taking pictures of a trans, because now everybody's taking their clothes off. But I mean, back then, it was they were so uncomfortable and uptight. I'm not going to get naked. I'm not showing my body. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you're going to end up doing that anyway when you go over to see these people. And it's like, and the more you do it on the internet, the more famous you become and the more money you can make. And I'm trying to explain this to them. It's like, be an entrepreneur. If you're going to do this industry, do it right and do it properly and safely. And everything was hidden, and it's like, nobody wanted to admit anything, and it was like, so it was a very strange situation. So this is how that ended up happening. And then I approached a club, and I said, I'm interested in putting together a night where you have trans women who meet men who are interested in trans women, because there's nothing else happening anywhere with that. And I knew how popular it was because of the men and the way they were responding to me. And I could have hidden all this and just taken all the money myself. And I thought, no, we have to work together here and make this a business. And so I got a hold of a handful of trans women that I ended up started dealing with. And I said, I'm going to hold a club night. And I'm going to invite men. I'm going to put the ad on the internet, and I'm going to invite them to come. And of course, they were thinking, no one's going to come to this, no one's going to come to this. So we tried it in this little club, and it just was a hit. All these men showed up. It's like tons of men. And there was hardly any women, any trans women. And so then the next time I did it, all these trans women started coming, and then all these men were coming. And then it ended up becoming a night, it was always on a Thursday, that became very popular, and it was advertised everywhere, and men were coming from all over. It was really fascinating. They would be flying in to do this, not necessarily just to come to that, but if they came for business, then all of a sudden they were coming. And then all the ladies were getting more and more phone calls than they've ever had online, because people would meet them, know there was parties going on, and they were starting to become famous at this point, where it's like, oh, I know you, I've seen you online, right? And the fascinating thing is I'm way more famous in Europe than I am here, that I've ever been here, because of people over there. I know it's really weird. And it's like, even as a singer and a comedian, people know me over there more than I don't get acknowledged here a lot. I mean, that's what we do with our own here in Toronto, unfortunately. Musicians, singers, comedians, we don't get the acknowledgement we deserve, in my opinion. We really don't. There's a lot of incredible talent in this city.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they just don't get the attention. So I started off doing that, and then I talked to my business partner, Todd Klink, who was the one I was telling you about, who would take the pictures of the models. And him and I said to him, I want to do these parties. And then eventually, because the parties were so popular, I said, I want to open a club. Let's get a club going. And that's how it all started. And so we found the space, and then it grew from there. It grew from just a trans night one night to, we reached out to queer women, burlesque women, all sorts of people out there who wanted to bring events in. And so it became very diverse, a very diverse club.
Yeah, it really seems like it's like expanded into this whole world.
Yeah, because I wanted them all to be, I wanted everyone to take part in it. I wanted all the communities to come and feel welcome and, and enjoy themselves. And it was, so yeah, I got excited over that, seeing the community, building and having a place to come, and not feel ashamed. And that included the trans nights where, teaching these women, do not be ashamed. You have enough to deal with the fact that you're living as a trans woman and you're being brave and doing that, and you found yourself. Don't let people judge you because you're a sex worker. Don't even let people judge you because you're a slut. It's okay to enjoy your sexuality.
Things that that you're the society tells you that are shameful, that aren't.
Exactly. You got to be empowered. You have to be. I learned that from women. Okay. And it's just the way it is. It's like, and I also, when I'm talking to trans women, it's always like, oh, well, I don't look like a woman, and I don't look more, I need to work on this. I need to get that. And I'm going, who's to say what a woman looks like? It's like, be proud and happy that you're finally getting the opportunity to live as a trans woman. And it doesn't matter if you don't like your hair, or you don't like your nose, or you don't like it's like, it doesn't matter, because you're judging yourself, which is worse than other people judging you. It's like, be happy with the fact that you finally are getting the opportunity to be comfortable, and then work on that other stuff later.
do you like notice a big change like in the even in the last like 4 or 5 years of just like trans women just being at least in Toronto? Like to me, I feel like it's something that I've noticed is it's just like there's just more people out there just like doing their thing. Like
Yeah.
you didn't see it before, you know? Like it was like is that like do you feel that way?
There's a larger population of trans women, you mean?
Yeah, and that just people seem more what trans women there seems to be more women that are like comfortable just living their lives in
Yeah,
public.
you're absolutely right. I see that a lot more. And it's not just
Mhm.
sex workers now. Before, like trans women were, a lot of them were just sex workers. When I say just, I don't mean just and only, but a lot of them were sex workers. That's how they were living. They
Right.
weren't ready or comfortable yet to be able to move into the mainstream and get jobs like any other woman would,
Mhm.
or live their life comfortably. So yes, that changed an awful lot as people got used to it and people got educated on what trans was. And what had happened on the internet after a while is the political movement started moving into the internet and started judging. And not all of them, but they started
Mhm.
judging trans women sex workers and trans women who, and it's like, everybody's going to think we're all sex workers. It's like, okay. It's like, no, that's not what's going on here. And
Yeah.
so what I mentioned in my book and what I say to people is you've got to realize that trans women in the porn industry and trans women who are in the sex trade industry brought a lot of attention to the fact we exist. And you have to stop
Mhm.
judging them for that. You've got to thank them, as a matter of fact. You are not a sex worker. You are not in the porn industry. That's good. Then you have to educate. That's your job now. You have to educate people that you're not in this industry, but you're not ashamed of those women who are. Because we have a chance now. This movement has a chance to change the way of thinking, the crap that women have had to go through over the generations, the garbage, the judging women the way they look, telling women they're not good enough, telling women
Mhm.
they can't get paid as much as men, judging women, judging other women. You know, it's that is the opportunity that you can help that, you know, be changed
Yeah,
and set an example. And it's kind of like we have to kind of stick together here. There isn't enough of us to be divided. And
totally.
so that's what was happening with the political ones. And they're kind of going, oh, you know, it's disgusting. And it's like, you know, you're just, and people would make comment about my club on Thursdays, that's just sex workers. And it's like, you know, it's like, what does that mean? It's just sex workers. If you're not comfortable coming to the event, that's fine. But don't judge those who are comfortable and they're coming to the event.
Mhm.
And so it's very frustrating for me because I understand the plight and I understand the politics. And I think it's very important. It's very important to the ones that are out there. And I always call it, they're out in the trenches. Okay, these
Yeah,
political
it seems
workers,
like it.
they're incredible women. So please don't get me wrong. And they're out there and they're fighting the good fight. But I think at least a little now, they're starting to kind of go, you know what? Let's just pull it together. Let's just kind of go, okay, yeah, you're a sex worker. That's what you've chosen. You
Mhm.
know, the only thing that I always mention to people is like, I'm not talking about sex work as in people being forced into it. I'm
Of
talking
course.
about people who choose it as an occupation.
Yeah,
Okay. It's like, I'm totally against anyone that has to do it because they're
of
forced to
course.
do it. You know, it's unfair. And so
It
I can
really
understand.
seems like, yeah, it shouldn't like devalue the work that like all of those women did to sort of like, for example, it's like you starting this venue that started in that way, but then like became like that and so many other things as well. But it doesn't like devalue like where it came from, you know. In fact, the fact that it came from that, that's like how it was able to exist in the first place.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a story. I mean, there's stories within stories of all of this, but
Totally.
if people would just take the time to try and do that research and kind of look, how did this happen? Where did this
Hmm.
begin? And it wasn't just me. I mean, I was probably the first one in Toronto to ever get on the
That's
internet
pretty good.
as a sex worker. Yeah, but there was others. There was ones in the States. There was ones over in Europe who popped up and they discovered the internet. A lot of them were, internet nerds from the beginning, and then they started putting websites together, and then some of them started moving in and doing things like the political end of it, the educating, and some, like I mentioned, some incredible trans women out there who are in also many walks of life who are helping all of us. They're helping things get better. But I don't judge them, and they shouldn't be judging me. I mean, yes, I ended up, what I started with has ended up growing into something else. And so I present it differently. But the unfortunate thing is people are always putting people in boxes, and it's unfortunate, but they do it anyway. And so a lot of people don't recognize or acknowledge or even think that I've done anything besides, being a sex worker or, or that type of thing, or opening up a club that is sex positive, because that's how they look at it. They always want to focus, on something so they feel comfortable in the bar. I mean, when we were struggling with our club at first, when it was Goodhandy's nightclub, everybody would just say, the statements were always, oh, that's just some sex club, or that's just some trans woman club. And that's not the word they use, but it was, that's where they put us.
Yeah.
But
now, I know that like during the pandemic, the original venue closed, but then you opened a new venue.
Yeah.
on the Danforth, right? So what's it like there? Because it seems like it's really like a diverse range of like entertainment activities. Like and it seems like really like open to everybody.
Yeah, the Danforth is it's a wonderful spot. And I didn't realize just how amazing the clubs are there, the pubs, and the businesses. They're all very supportive of each other. And
really?
We felt so welcomed. My business partner, Richard Henry, who's a chef as well. And we felt so welcome. And I was on Instagram, and all of a sudden I saw this post, and it was from the Business Association, the BIA of the Danforth. I haven't met anybody from the Business Association, but they welcomed us. It's like Mandy's Bistro's open, and they reached out, and I said, I'm looking, oh my God, this is like so unheard of. It's like, and we're getting involved with things with them. We're putting on some outdoor shows along the Danforth this summer, and they asked us to provide some entertainment. And it took a while for comedians and musicians and singers to kind of look at me as one of theirs, one of them. And I'm glad that's happening now. So they're not putting me into a box as much. I mean, there's still some people do that, but it's more along the lines of, well, that's Mandy, she's a singer, or that's Mandy, she's a comedian.
You know how I've heard about you was from Ori. Do you know Ori?
Yes, Ori Dagan, yes.
Yeah. We were talking about like influential, we were just talking about this series, and I just met him at a Drum, which I think you performed at maybe.
Yeah, I only sat in there once. I haven't performed there yet, but I plan on doing a booking. I reached out, and I'm waiting until like late summer or the fall to go there. That's a big one. I love that place. It's just got an amazing energy, doesn't it? And Ori is such an influence on the music community. He's out all the time, meeting and networking, and the thing with him is it's so unselfish. When he's meeting, like introducing people to each other, and saying you should go and perform there, and you should. So it's not always about him, and that's very rare, in the industry. Yeah. So this is how he put us together here. Yeah. I don't know if he's watching or not, but if he is,
he is. He's like just a little.
Oh, he is watching. Oh, okay. I can't see anything here. There he. Oh, yeah, he's got a little hearty thing. Okay, yes. Hi, Ori. How are you doing? It's nice to see you. It's like, of course he would be, because he wants to correct everything I might have said wrong, during the interview.
There hasn't been a running commentary, but maybe he'll offer some notes after.
Yes, I'm sure he will. This is part of his shtick. But anyway, he was very helpful with the 120 Diner when it came to booking the artists. I'm not as good as getting out there and meeting people. I'm not that good at it, as we discussed earlier. That hasn't changed. But he's just out there, and it's like he's always suggesting people, and people who contact me go, Ori told me I should contact you, and you're a good place to perform. And yeah, it's, he gets it, as in, it's even like I was even saying about the trans women community, we've got to stick together, and it's like, with the artists, we've got to stick together and promote each other. We've got to build the industry. We've got to start getting acknowledgement from the media, first of all, in this country itself, that musicians and comedians and all sorts of artists that are in this country deserve more acknowledgement. They really do. And why does all our best people end up in the States? So just looking at that, it's kind of like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, is this not telling you something? Okay, whether it's they're being paid more, whatever the reason is. But the United States, that's one thing I say about them, it's like they lift up their celebrities, and here in Canada, we don't have them, when it really comes right down to, oh, you're just a Canadian celebrity. I'm not saying that people should be celebrities. And I'm not saying it should be as ridiculous as it is down there. People are celebrities for no reason. But I'm saying there should be more acknowledgement. There's got to be more things happening, out there. And
Ori says, so strange to see you at this time of day, Mandy. You look amazing.
listen to him. Yeah, he knows that it's all right. During the day, and I put on lipstick, okay? All right.
Perfect. So tell me a little bit about what you have coming up. I know you're working on a couple of projects. Obviously, people should come and go and check out Mandy's Bistro. There's always like amazing stuff happening down there.
We've got some great performers.
But also, I know you have some stuff coming up this summer. Tell us about what you're doing at Pride.
Oh, Pride, yeah. The 26th, which is on the Sunday when the big parade's happening, we'll be on the South Stage, which is Golden Church. And I'm doing Mandy Goodhandy and Friends. And I've got a variety of amazing artists. And Ori is one of them, actually. Ori Dagan is one of them. Yeah, and Jenny Walls from Singular Sensation, she's bringing a showcase. And my music partner, him and I will be doing little bits in between everybody throughout the day from 1 o'clock to 6:30. So I decided to use part of my hosting as in, making it, do a couple of songs and then introduce the next person. So that Lady and the Rambler, which is what we're called, me and Mateo Chavez Lewis, and we'll do just little bits throughout, just to keep everything up and going and moving. Yeah. We have Leah Canale, who is renowned now because of her connection with Drag Race. Yeah, she's an incredible singer. Jenna Marie, another amazing bluesy kind of singer. And I'm sorry, Jenna, if I got the blues wrong. I have a hard time connecting. I don't like putting people in boxes. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't want to say that's all she does because I've heard
amazing singer.
Yeah, she's an incredible singer. And, it's like, it doesn't matter what genre she's doing. She's just a great singer.
Erin, our my colleague, has put the link to the page of that event at Pride in the chat here.
Oh, how nice. Thank you very much. Yes, it's going to be a great show, so you got to come by. If you go and watch the parade, it's understandable. But if you come over to our stage while the parade is going, you don't have to worry about the big crowds or feeling congested, and we'll make you feel welcome, of course. And so it would be nice if you came by. We have Overdude, which is a duo, another amazing singer and a guitar player. And we have, who else do we have? Oh my God, Janet Whiteway, an incredible queer woman performer. And she's going to have like a mini band of women, no doubt. And it's like they're just an incredible energy. She's probably one of the best people I've ever met in this industry. She's just an amazing woman. So I picked people who I knew had also personality, not just, talent, as singers or musicians. Oh yeah, they've got it. They've got it all, the whole package. And it's
The
like,
package.
it's so delightful to. And Mark Cassius, who is a big theater name,
Yes.
sweet man, from he's done some stuff on in theater.
We're gonna have to like round up all the Fab Lab folk and head down for that.
Oh
Absolutely.
wow, that would be great. It would be good to have people there.
We'll be in the audience to cheer you on. But you have something coming up before that
Oh
on
yes.
June 3rd. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, June 3rd at 8 o'clock. Out TV is my showcase, my episode on Out for Laughs, and I'll be doing my stand-up comedy. And I actually end the set with a little song. I'm not going to tell you what the song is, but it should be fun. They got a little interview and everything attached, and it was all
I think
filmed at
it's
the.
gonna be on Amazon Prime as well.
No, yeah, Amazon Prime. It would be downloadable on there. It's
Okay,
not
great.
going to be on the actual channel.
But it'll be like not searchable there.
Yes, you can search for it and you can download the episode on Out
Amazing.
TV and on Prime. And anyway, it was fun to do, and it was at the Mandalay Theater, which was one of the few places that hung in there as everything was being closed down. And so he kind of Joseph Patrick owns it, and he kind of reinvented himself during this whole pandemic situation, where the medley, instead of just being these big theater pieces going on, he was bringing in music, and and there was no audience half the time. It was quite fascinating. But he hung in there, and so we ended up filming this there. So I was quite honored to be part of it, and so we'll see how it turns out. I have no idea what it's going to be like.
You haven't seen that?
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't. They're very tight with their material.
Really?
They don't give you anything. It's like I reached out and I said, I want to have a watch party, and could you send me some of the pictures? Because they took pictures on stage and off stage. And I said, could you send me some of the material so I can use it as promotion?
Yeah.
And they sent me like 2 or 3 pictures backstage that
Really?
they had took. And I thought, okay, I get what they're doing now. It's like they don't want to, launch it before it's launched, I guess. And so it's kind of like, well, I really did want to help promote it, and get it out there. So I haven't seen the video, and I haven't seen all the pictures they took or anything like that. So it's going to be a big surprise for me too.
That's crazy. So that's June 3rd on Out TV and then downloadable on Amazon Prime. And where can people just find out what you're up to? Is it best like follow you on Instagram or like just pop by Mandy's Bistro?
Yeah, I'm not at Mandy's Bistro all the time. I do a lot of the work behind the scenes. I go there a couple of times a week. But my website is mandygoodhandy.com, and it's got everything that I'm involved with.
Amazing.
And then, of course, at Mandy Goodhandy everywhere else. I guess, I'm on Twitter. Don't ask me why.
I know, same.
I don't understand it. It's,
I've done like 3 tweets.
I know I put it on there because it's just habit, and it's kind of like I tweet something and nobody really cares, and it's like, okay, maybe they're reading it, but they're not retweeting. I'm all right with that. It's like I haven't been on a magazine cover or anything. I'm not one of the Kardashians. It's like so. But anyway, it's just in case anybody's on Twitter and they kind of, they want to look. Then it's got stuff there. It's like I force it on you. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you for that.
But yeah, and I'm on TikTok. I did some stuff on there, and I'm still experimenting on it. So that's, again, at Mandy Goodhandy. I'm terrible at promoting myself.
No, Mandy Goodhandy. You got the name. You type that into the internet.
Yeah, I just put it out there. Yeah, it's like she was on the internet with Moses, at the beginning. It's like, right? Yeah, when I had like a squirrel on a wheel, doing my internet. I remember that. I remember sitting there for ages while that little thing was going around. Where you're waiting, you log onto a website and you click on a picture, and then you're waiting and waiting and waiting. You go have lunch and you come back and maybe the picture's downloaded. Yeah, I was back then. Yeah.
Nice. One of the OGs. Mandy, would you feel like you want to sing anything or do anything like that for us? How are you feeling?
Well, I'll sing a song if you want me to sing a song.
I would love you to. I didn't want to pressure you, but
No, you don't have to, because I figured out that I can do it on this.
fabulous. Okay, great.
And I can get the black background music because I like to hear the music. It's just, so I'm going to dedicate this song, and this is the reason I picked it. It's in my album, Just Call Me Lady. And it's a song that's really important to me. It's a message to probably for everyone can relate to anywhere, called I Believe. And it's a song of hope. It's like, I believe that this will happen. I believe that someday, we will all be happy living together and not being judgmental. And so anyway, I want to send this out to everybody. And you take it the way you want to take it and how it relates to you.
Thank you.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night, a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. I believe, I believe, I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer can still be heard. I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I
Woo! Yay! So beautiful.
That felt very odd for two reasons. One,
I mean,
that it's broad daylight and I'm not used to performing during the day. And
that's the
and two, that I'm totally sober and I actually got through that song.
Well, you killed it. You hit it out of the park. So good.
Well,
So beautiful.
it was nice to send that out. Thank you for, asking me
Thank
to
you
do
so
that.
much for doing that with us and for everything today. Honestly, this has been like a really incredible conversation, I think, like for me personally, but also I'm sure for a lot of people watching to have the chance to like hear you just tell your story. It's such a
Thank you.
cool.
I appreciate it. I'm very honored that you've reached out to me. I'm so
happy to have
excited. I'm so excited to be to work with you women. If you're ever, you're looking for
No,
anything, reach out.
absolutely.
Let's get you into the bistro. It'll be
100%.
very exciting to have
I
that
mean, we're all
opportunity.
singers and dancers and stuff in our group.
See,
Like, absolutely, it'd be amazing. I know
yeah.
tomorrow already. Did she come and see you? Did you guys meet in person?
No, because I don't know if she's even gone to the place yet. But I told her to deal through Richard because he's there all the time, and
Yeah,
I didn't want her to go and not have someone to greet her. But eventually, I'm sure that we'll get to
100%.
connect. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with us here today. I should
Thank
let you go
you.
and have the rest of your day.
Yes, I'm going to go bowling. No.
Oh, I mean, that seems great. It's
Thank
fun
you.
leisurely activity on a Thursday
Oh
afternoon.
yeah, why the hell not? So I want to thank everybody for watching, or even if it's
Mhm.
now or later. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for tuning in, and I hope you pick up my book.
Yes. Where can people get your book?
I'm currently using it as a door stopper, but you
So
know
we can get it from you.
they can get a copy of the book online. It's like there's Glad Day Bookstore has it, and Amazon has
Mhm.
it, and it's everywhere where you can get a book. You can
Yeah.
get the download the book, or you can do the audio. I have the audio version out where I'm actually telling the story.
Would you? Because that would be fabulous because like your stories are incredible. You just have such an
it's,
interesting
it
life. So
means more when you're reading it yourself, and you're actually
true.
reading the book to yourself. And it's amazing, when I was doing that, is I was reliving it yet again,
Mhm.
my life. And if you have not written a book, all you wonderful people out there, write a book. Even if you don't think people will buy it, that doesn't matter, or if people are going to listen to it. Everyone has a story. And
Yeah.
if you have had difficulty in your life, or or a lot of happiness, or whatever the reason or whatever it is you've had, when you relive it, it's amazing, the healing. I'm telling you. And
Oh,
I tell people that it's like, people have gone through struggles, people are having a hard time. And when you write your feeling, and when you tell your story, it heals slowly, but it heals. It really does. Or when you go to let's say you go to an open stage where you get to go up and do a chapter, or tell a story. That's
mhm.
why we have these things. This is our community needs this. All of us, every
Totally.
single community out there, go and share your story. And you might not think it's interesting, but who are you to say it's not interesting? Okay, let other
It's
people
true.
to say, yeah, it's
It's
true.
really easy to write off like your own story as uninteresting. I feel like I've made that mistake many times, and then it's like, no, it's interesting. It's
We
interesting.
all are fascinating, all of us as
Yeah.
humans. We've all gone through things. And the more and more we come forward, the more other people relate, or you can help somebody. Even through this, you could have said
Mhm.
something, I could have said
Mhm.
something that changed somebody a little bit. It's kind of like,
Totally.
I relate to that. I'm not the only one. It's like, or they're looking at you and going, I would like to do my own thing, what she's doing. I'd like to interview people, and it's, people can always, look at stuff. And so never think you're not important. Never think you don't have something to say, or that you can't educate somebody somehow, or save someone from something somehow. You got to get out there and do it,
Yeah, you got to
so
put it out there.
yeah, you do. It's like we're all important. Okay, all my darlings. Okay, there you go.
Wonderful. Well, Mandy, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you on the television screen on the third and on the stage on the 26th.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so
Very
much.
excited. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for
You
being with us
too.
here
Thank
on
you.
Curtain Call.
Now we do this. Just X that out like that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
I'm leaving. Okay, bye.
Bye. And I will just, right before I end the video, thank you so much, Mandy. That was incredible. What an inspiration, truly. And next week, we're going to have another fabulous Toronto woman joining us, Maria Litvin, who is a, a visual artist, I think also like a conceptual artist, and then, of course, the longtime owner of La Palette, co-owner of La Palette, which has been so influential in the Toronto arts community. So that's next week. And we also have an event, Indigenous Grooves, coming up Friday, June 4th at Lee's Palace, which is it's going to be an incredible show. It's a electronic music sort of mini festival in one night, all Indigenous women and non-binary performers. There's going to be an arts and crafts fair. There's going to be fashion elements, fashion show with Indigenous Fashion Week coming up the week after that. So it's going to be an incredible party. There's going to be dancers, music, arts and crafts. So don't miss that, Friday, June 4th at Lee's Palace. And you can find out more about that at fabcollab.ca. Everything's up there right now. So we'll see you next week on Curtain Call. Thanks a lot. Bye.